Hello, everyone, and welcome to MSUFCU's Financial Education Seminar Series. We appreciate you all joining us and are excited to be here with you virtually this afternoon. These presentations were created with you in mind, with the intention to give financial education on a number of relatable topics to help expand your knowledge of finances. Each event will be hosted by a member of our financial education department, or like today, by one of our partners, hopefully connecting you with all the resources that our community has to offer. We have a number of diverse presentations planned for you this year, and you can explore and register for them by visiting us at msufcu.org/events. Today's event is being recorded. If you want to rewatch or share the presentation, you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/msufcu, and then just select the seminar series option from the playlist there. You can submit questions for our presenter today. So you can use that Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen to do that. If you can't find that, or sometimes if you're on like a mobile device or something, it might not be right there. So you can also chat me directly. And we'll go ahead and get to those questions after Dawn is finished presenting today. I'm Therese Bacon, so I'm a financial educator here with MSUFCU, and I'll be the facilitator today. So if you do have any tech issues or anything like that, you can also chat me directly. So today I'll introduce our amazing guests. So we have back today Dawn Watson from GreenPath here to present on how to reduce your spending, which is probably something that's top of mind for all of us these days, right? So I will go ahead and pass it over to you, Dawn. You can introduce yourself to the audience here, kind of explain your position with GreenPath, and then you can lead right into your presentation.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm so excited to talk with you today. So again, our topic is going to be how to reduce your spending. As Teresa said, my name is Dawn Watson. I work for GreenPath Financial Wellness, which is a financial wellness partner of MSUFCU. So we're really excited to provide you with this information and share with you how we can support you on your financial wellness journey. So there are a variety of reasons that someone may want to reduce their spending. It could be out of necessity after a loss of income or a new unexpected expense. It could be related to inflation. Normal purchases simply cost more than we're used to. The income's not increasing to keep up with those expenses. Some people may want to reduce spending by choice, perhaps to free up more money to reach a goal, or simply because you're not comfortable with where your money is going each month. Whatever your reason for wanting to reduce spending, we're going to cover steps to evaluate your options and tips to take action. So we are going to start by discussing how to determine exactly how much money you are spending and on what. Then we'll talk about using that information to set your financial priorities. Then we'll move into developing a spending plan and provide suggestions on ways to reduce spending in certain categories that may help you reach your spending goals. Before wrapping up, we're going to provide some tips for long-term success. So before you can determine how much you may need to reduce your spending by, it's important to first have a clear picture of how much you're actually spending and where that money is going. So according to a survey, only about 47% of us actually use a budget and method to keep track of where our money is going. So if you're in that group that doesn't keep track of it, you're not alone, and we're here to help you through that. So the first step in determining your household spending is to make a commitment to track every dollar you spend per month. You work hard for this money. Let's make sure that it is working hard for you. So tracking all of your spending will give you an accurate picture of where the money is actually going, as well as prepare you to determine where you'd like it to go instead. So your checking account and credit card statements are helpful here as well, as they will give you a record for those non-cash spending in the past, while you also are tracking the spending for the current month. So looking over a period of time can give you an idea of how much you spend on average per month in each category. Now, of course, there might be some fluctuations in some categories month to month, but on average, it's a baseline to really start working with. Now, don't forget, there's times of the year that we're likely going to be spending significantly more money. So you want to review those months as well. So example, during the holidays, we're likely going to spend more money than we would other times. Or maybe during the summer months when we're taking vacations, or if you have kiddos that aren't in school and you might have additional expenditures for those items too. Once you know where your money is currently going, it's time to decide what your priorities are for where you'd like it to actually go. The first step in setting your priorities is to list the various categories you're currently spending your money on, as well as those you want to be able to put money towards in the future. Next, you'll want to rank each spending category. This is about what you consider to be the most important to you. Don't think about what your extended family, friends, neighbors might consider important. It's really what you find is important. We all have different priorities. So, this step is about honestly identifying what your priority expenses are. Being honest with yourself here is going to be key for success. So, again, if you want to throw into the chat, what are some of the examples of things that you would consider maybe a high priority item in your spending plan, maybe something that you consider a low priority, if you want to throw those in the chat. I know for our family, my husband and I are pretty split. He loves to go to the gym. He actually has two different gym memberships because they have different equipment in his eyes. So that's a priority for him. So we make sure that's a priority in our spending plan. Me, not so much, not a gym person. So for me, it wouldn't matter. But because we're collaborating on this and ensuring that our household budget and priorities are created, that's something that we're focused on for him. So did you see anything come through the chat? No? Okay. So once you've done this, take a bit of time to sleep on it, then revisit
Oh,
your list.
sorry, we did have one. Okay,
Oh,
sorry. A couple people did pop through now. So we had one audience member say insurance,
yep.
another one saving for college, pet expenses.
Oh,
That can
yeah.
be a costly one. And then just general savings.
Right. I love those.
Yeah.
So again, now that you've done this or you're going to do this, take a time to really kind of revisit this after you've, give it a little bit of time. Make sure that you agree with your rankings and are confident that you've clearly identified what you consider your true financial priorities. Now that you know where your money is currently going and you've prioritized what you'd like it to be going to, it's time to develop a plan to make this actually happen. The first step in developing your spending plan is to know how much money you have to work with. So list all of your household income sources, the amount received, and how frequently you receive it. Now make sure to also consider that consistency of it. You really don't want to rely on overtime or like side jobs that you might get occasionally to guarantee your high priority expenses. Inconsistent income, we would highly recommend you allocate that to achieve your goals faster. So, for instance, if your goal is to save for college, that's a great way to put more money into that savings when you have some of those inconsistent income sources. So whatever that priority is for you, so some people it might be taking the vacation that they've always wanted to take. For others, it might be paying down debt to increase, to reduce that debt load faster. So whatever is your priority. Next, list all of your non-negotiable expenses, your necessities. For many of us, this is going to include our food, our housing, utilities, transportation. Finally, allocate the rest of your money based on your list of priorities. Start with those high priority expenses that were included that weren't part of those non-negotiable items and work your way down the list until you run out of money to work with. Then you look at everything and say, were you able to fit everything you wanted into that spending plan? If not, you may be looking for ways to reduce your spending in some categories to free up money for other expenditures. So if you have spending categories on your list that don't fit into your spending plan with that current income, take time to evaluate how important each one of these is to determine if you need to reevaluate your existing plan to be able to include them. Revisit your current spending plan in great detail to ensure you have correctly ranked the priority level of expenses that you already have included, comparing those to what you weren't able to include. Now it's time to look back at your spending plan to identify things you want to keep, but could possibly reduce the amount you plan to spend towards each month. So if you're able to identify a few categories that could probably be reduced by some amount, make these adjustments in your spending plan. and revisit the list of expenses you weren't able to fit in previously and see if you freed up enough funds to include them in now. Unsure where to start when it comes to identifying expenses that could be included? I have some suggestions for you. So, have you ever realized that many of the areas in our budget that we find ourselves spending money on that might not necessarily be the high priorities tend to start with the letter C? So, like clothes, you know, car, although that is a necessity, maybe that particular car isn't, coffee, cable, children's expenses, convenience items. I mean, the list goes on. Of course, not everything on this list is items that you personally spend money on or areas that you can adjust your spending for. However, it's really worth evaluating if any of these make sense for you to consider reducing where your money is going. I know for our family, we just did the whole cable thing. And we decided that we were going to eliminate the cable, try a few select streaming services to try to offset that expense. I mean, it was a crazy amount of money that was going out, $185 a month for, technically it wasn't cable, it was DirecTV, but yeah, that was an easy win for us. Another area that many people don't even realize how much money goes to are subscriptions. Based on a 2022 survey, the average household spends $219 every single month on various subscriptions. This number may surprise many of us, but again, you might, go through and take a look and see if that's the case. I did it just recently as well. This was part of our journey, and I was surprised about how many things I didn't even realize that I was still paying for. So again, that's another important part of this process is make sure that, if it's automatically being pulled, make sure it's something that you're actually using. So these could be things like your streaming services for, how many millions are there now? Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount, Apple TV, HBO, all of those things. It could also include like your Amazon Prime. It could include food delivery services. So maybe you do DoorDash or Grubhub. Maybe you do grocery delivery services through, Walmart Plus, Shipped, various ones. Maybe you spend money on online or print magazines or newspapers. Maybe you have the music subscriptions, Amazon Music or Spotify or Pandora, whatever the various ones that you could consider. Also, think about the box stores that you're paying for subscriptions for. I know I have Sam's Club and Costco. I let my BJ's go, and then all of a sudden they send me this thing, and they're like, "Oh, we can send you up a new subscription here for $10." And I'm like, "Oh, I can do $10." So then I went and did it, but I hardly ever go. So I mean, was it really necessary to do that? And then of course, like those subscription boxes, where you can get things shipped to you on a regular cadence. Do you actually use those things that come in those subscription boxes? Now that you have a full list of your subscriptions that you're currently paying for, ask yourself these three questions about each of them. First, do you use the subscription enough to justify the cost? Perhaps you have a specific streaming service for just a show that you like to watch. That season is ended. Maybe you've paid for it and you now realize, well, I can cancel it and start it back up again when it comes out, the new series comes out. I know for me, with like all of my streaming platforms, every single one of them seem to offer an amazing deals around Black Friday. Like you could get such inexpensive ones if you're going to do that. So really try to set that up so that you can take advantage of some of those deals as well. Next, ask yourself how canceling the subscription would impact you and your household. What would it feel like if you were losing? What would you feel like if you were losing that subscription? And finally, if you're on the fence about how much you're using or may miss the subscription, consider canceling it for 1 month, then revisiting your decision at a later point. You may realize you really don't miss it at all, or you may decide that you want to re-enroll, or you may discover that you found a different version or something else that fits the bill completely. Giving yourself that defined trial period with an end date to reevaluate can be a great way to make final decisions with confidence. Also, you can passively put them on pause. That's what I did with my DirecTV initially. Our internet is a little spotty where I live. So my husband was like, "Well, are we going to have trouble if we wanted to stream something?" So I paused it. They were going to let me do that for like 9 months out of the year. I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that initially." But we found that we didn't have any problems with our internet, so now we can just eliminated it completely. Another way to reduce their spending is to reduce the temptations that exist all around us that could impact our spending plan and, again, our financial goals. Unsubscribe from emails and text messages from businesses that you don't want to buy their products anymore. Many of us, sign up to receive these in order to get a discount or some other benefit. However, that continuous barrage of huge sale, limited time, emails and texts can cause us to deviate from our spending plan. If any of you have ever signed up for the Kohl's, you know, cashbacks and all those things, I think I must get a message, text, or an email from them probably 2 or 3 times a day. So, eliminating those things like the big sale or you get your 30% off. If you don't need those things, I would definitely try to eliminate them. It can also be helpful to simply turn off notifications from apps to avoid spending on items not included in your plan. Perhaps you decided paying extra for food delivery wasn't something that you wanted to do any longer. Um, these are, again, the notifications, they can really weaken our resolve to stick to that spending plan quicker than we expect. Silencing notifications from our apps can help you reevaluate and not spend the money that you weren't wanting to spend. So I definitely encourage you to do that. Social media influencers have sprung up all around us, encouraging us to buy specific products that they're being paid to advertise. And often they get a discount. You're going to get a discount code for buying it through them, and then they get a cut of what you spent. So it's getting harder and harder to ignore when simply trying to keep up with family and friends on social media. So if you follow any specific influencers or business accounts that tempt you to spend more than you'd like, consider unfollowing them to remove that temptation from your feed. Of course, you unfortunately cannot remove advertising and suggested posts, but removing the accounts you have control over can definitely help. So, according to some research by Pop Menu, they specialize in restaurant technologies. 30% of all consumers spend, on average, $180 a week on restaurant food. This represents over $9,300 a year for some households. That's a lot of money. I'm sure many of us have had long days at work, or we need to take our children to an after school activity and didn't plan anything for dinner. So instead of going home and trying to create a meal with what is left in the fridge, we stop and pick up something to eat because it feels easier than going home to make that decision about what to eat and then doing the prep work. Spending some intentional time planning meals and doing the prep on the weekends when you might have some extra time and capacity can really help reduce this if you already know that what you can make when you get home and some of the prep work has already been done. So consider making full meals in advance for busy days that you'll be tempted to hit that drive through. And so that when you come home, you just have to heat it up. Freeze them in advance for the week and then just pull them out that night or that morning for that meal that you're going to have. So online grocery shopping may feel like an odd thing to include here as there's typically fees associated with them. However, using this service might actually help you save money depending on your tendency to impulse buy when walking the aisles at the store, or if you get overwhelmed by options at the store and default to whatever's closest to you on the shelf as opposed to what is the best value. So you'll want to weigh how frequently you plan to use the services if you would need to pay for the delivery, or could you pick up the order yourself and avoid that fee? These factors can help you determine if the fee will be noticeably offset by the amount of money that you would expect to save. Another way to reduce your spending is to know your spending habits and how your money personality impacts them. There are 5 main money personalities. So we have the big spender. These are individuals that don't bargain shop. They're comfortable spending money, don't fear debt, and often take risks. We have our savers. A saver is the opposite of the big spender. They shop only when necessary, rarely make purchases with credit cards, always look for the best deal, and don't take big risks. The shoppers often derive great emotional satisfaction from spending money. They often can't resist spending even for items they don't need. Kind of goes back to that whole Kohl's thing, the 30% off. You see, oh, this is on sale and I got my coupon. I'm going to buy it. Yes, I'm sure we've all been there. Then we have our debtors. They don't spend much time thinking about their money and don't keep tabs on what they spend or where debtors generally spend more than they earn. They tend to carry debt and they don't put much thought into investing. And then we have our investors who are consciously aware of money. They understand their financial situation and try to put their money to work. So, do any of these personalities resonate with you? How might your money personality highlight financial blind spots to be aware of? And how might you make changes based on knowing these blind spots? So, I know we're kind of split in my household. My husband, he's kind of um, I would say he's the big spender, but he definitely, when he wants something, he doesn't think about it. He might have 3 of them, but if he can't find it, he's gonna go buy a new one instead of looking for it. And that's his personality. Me, on the other hand, I would consider myself a saver until it's something that's exceptionally important, and then I'm just gonna spend what I need to get what I want. So I kind of say that we're a little bit of a split household. So I don't know if anybody else can identify their spending personality. If you want to share in the chat, great. If you don't, I understand. But really thinking about where you're at could help you make some of these decisions. So impulse buying may feel harmless when you're making a single purchase. However, it can add up over time and lead to financial stress. Impulse buying can be influenced by many factors. Your emotions can impact the desire to buy, as can convenience, instant gratification, advertising, brand loyalty, family, and friends. So, if a purchase isn't part of your spending plan, get in the habit of asking yourself some questions before heading to the checkout. One, is the item an unplanned purchase? Is the item a need or a want? What emotions are affecting my desire for this item? How many hours would I have to work to cover the cost of this item? Is it worth that much of my time? Based on your answers to these questions, take a pause before making the purchase. Sleep on it. And if you're still thinking about that item 48 hours later, revisit making the purchase. But consider pausing even longer for larger unplanned items. So, when thinking about how to reduce your spending, consider the payment methods that you typically use. If you make a purchase with cash, you may be more likely to consider the importance and need of the purchase as you physically hand that money over to the cashier. You may also set limits for yourself with cash. If you struggle with impulse buying, going to the store with a set amount of cash is going to help alleviate and eliminate some of that impulse buying. This is going to force you to stick to the plan. If you do choose to use debit cards, you can still have a sense of how it impacts your spending, or you're probably not going to have a sense of how it impacts your spending unless you're using your mobile banking app and constantly checking your balances and that. So, again, don't carry your credit debit cards with you if you know that you're the personality that's going to just randomly spend and your balances are constantly increasing instead of decreasing, or if you can't pay them off every single month, because it's going to make it that much more challenging to be able to manage it. So, those, again, just really think about how you spend. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to carry cash. It seems a little risque. I get that. But once you kind of get into some of these habits, it'll be a little bit easier to then transition back to using credit or debit. Um, I know for me, what I do is I use a particular credit card for everything. And then I go in and I pay that credit card every single week. I don't wait for the due date. The money is already allocated for it in my spending plan. Then I make sure it goes there to pay it. So this is a great way to start transitioning back from cash if you want to not use cash on a regular basis. Yeah, pay it daily. I do it weekly. Just seems like for me a little overwhelming to remember to go in and do it every day. But yeah, whatever works for you, for sure. Another thing to consider when looking for costs to reduce is how you might lower your utility bills. Turn down your thermostat when you're away from home for long periods of time or at night when sleeping. You can save as much as 10% a year on heating and cooling costs by simply turning your thermostat back 7 to 10 degrees for 9 hours a day from its normal setting. Using programmable thermostats will make it easier to set a timer to return the temperature to a normal level before returning home or waking up, and will avoid the issue of you forgetting to make that adjustment. Also, if you haven't already switched your light bulbs to LED, you can potentially save, the average household saves about $225 in energy costs a year by just making that one change. Unplug your small appliances and electronics when you're not using them. When your TV, computer, and other appliances are plugged in, they're still using electricity, known as standby power. Standby power accounts for 5 to 10% of residential energy use and could cost the average US household as much as $100 per year. Consider washing your laundry in cold water. Per Consumer Reports, 90% of the energy used to wash a load of laundry goes into heating the water. Also, don't just do a couple pieces of laundry at once. That's my children. I'm telling them, if they hear this, listen, do a load so that you're being efficient with the energy that you're using and the cost to do it. Using dryer balls will help prevent laundry from clumping together in the dryer, allowing warm air to circulate better, reducing dry time and saving energy. You can also schedule an energy audit to help you determine how much energy your home uses, where your home is inefficient, and what you should prioritize changing. This can be done by professional home energy assessors. You can do it yourself or check with your utility provider to see what they might offer. Consider investing money as you are able to save on energy costs by winterizing your home. This may include things like adding insulation, reducing air leakage and ventilation. There may be financial assistance and weatherization programs available to determine availability in your area. You can look at energy.gov for that, or you could also use 211 and let them know what you're looking for, and they might be able to connect you with a variety of services. Now that you know where your money is currently going and you've prioritized what you'd like it to go to, and you have considered things that you can do to reduce your spending in certain categories, it's time to put your plan into action. As you do this, here are some tips for long-term success. First, don't try to do everything all at once. Ease into it. Some of the changes you identified may be small and easy to implement, while others may take more time and lifestyle adjustments. Even good changes you're excited about can be stressful. So be kind to yourself by easing these changes into your spending plan. Taking it slow can lead to more success over time. Make sure you have a plan in place to reevaluate your spending plan and the changes you have implemented regularly. Determine what is working and what isn't going well as you was expected. As you start, consider reevaluating every week, then every paycheck, then move to once a month. And as you start to building your new spending habits, you'll be able to stretch this out to probably quarterly as well. If you have experienced some bumps in the road, give yourself some grace. Everyone has deviated away from the well thought out plan at some point in time. Don't lose sight of why you started in the first place. Reevaluate and form a new plan to get back on track. Continue reviewing your financial priorities annually to ensure that you're still in line with your goals. Life changes may mean your priorities shift, and your spending plan can and should be adjusted as your situation and goals change. Having money in savings for an emergency can help keep your spending plan on track. An emergency fund can give you more confidence that you can tackle life's unexpected events without taking on debt or derailing your spending plan. Having a method to track your spending is essential to ensure you're following the plan that you've created. There's no one method for tracking. If you like technology, there are many apps that you can assist you with this. Go to the App Store, type in expense tracker, you're going to see plenty. You can also use the mobile banking app. You can also use a spreadsheet. That wouldn't be for me. I would never do that. One of my colleagues, she lives and dies by her spreadsheets. She writes it all down. You could also do the old tried and true, track it on pen and paper. Whatever works for you, that's what's important, to find that method and then try working it. If it doesn't work after all, switch to something else. That's okay. And finally, you don't have to do this alone. MSUFCU is here for you as well as GreenPath Financial Wellness. You can contact one of our certified financial wellness experts. They can help you create that spending plan. They can help you understand how to look at tracking methods that are going to work for you. They can help you with a plan to save money. They can help you with a plan to reduce debt. So whatever it is that you're looking for, definitely feel that you can reach out to us. You can go check us out on our website, greenpath.com/MSUFCU, or you can give us a call at the number that's in the chat, the 800-747-2898. So thank you, everyone. If you have questions, please pop them in the chat and we will
Yeah.
go through those.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Don. I did put a couple links in the chat while you were talking. So I found the link for the aligning priorities like workbook that you guys provide on the GreenPath website. So that link is there. I think you just have to enter your name and email, and it'll actually get emailed right to you. So that really goes through. So I was just kind of thumbing through it while you were talking, and it really goes through step by step, kind of all the things that you just talked about. And it has fillable sections and all of that. So you can tailor it right to your own plan. And then I also put in the link to the interactive budgeting worksheet on the GreenPath website. So those should be some pretty good tools to kind of get you started down this path of reducing your spending. Another thing to plug a future seminar series that's coming up here, when we were talking about the money personalities, we have a session coming up that's going to focus on the psychology of money. So it actually starts with taking a personality test, and then once you get your like 4-letter code, you bring that to the session, and then the presenter will kind of go through what each of those personalities, how they interact with money, and maybe tips for that specific personality. So that might be something of interest to everyone that's here today as well. So I don't have any other questions that have popped through here, Dawn, but I hope you guys will check out the GreenPath website. They just have so many resources on there, worksheets and toolkits and, pre-recorded webinars, just like we have on the MSUFCU website as well on our YouTube. So check all those out. If you are in a place where maybe you're trying to manage debt and pay down debt, GreenPath can definitely provide you with some resources there. So I also put their 800 number in the chat if you do want to reach out to them directly for some assistance there. So yeah, it looks like we haven't had any other questions come through. I will go ahead and email those 2 resources as well. I'll just put them, attach them to an email and send that to everyone who's in attendance today, in case you didn't get the link while you were here in the seminar. So yeah, and then there'll be a short little survey that will pop up when you close out of the Zoom. So that just gives us some feedback on what you thought of today's session. It does ask you if there's any other specific topics that you might want covered in seminar series. So we are always open to ideas. So definitely give us your feedback there, and we'll be happy to do as much as we can to get to those topics that you want to hear about. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Don, for being with us again. I know everyone always appreciates all the information you share, and we love partnering with GreenPath. You guys have been a long time partner of MSUFCU, and we're just so thankful for that. So
Thank
thanks
you for
again.
having me.
Yes, and we will, as always, probably have you back in the next couple months. So you can register for more seminar series events at msufcu.org/events. So check those out. We do have a couple more like this that are lunch and learns that are coming up. So over the summer, we didn't want to take away your evening, when you can be out there enjoying the nice weather. So hopefully these noon sessions are a little bit more fitting for everyone's schedules, and we hope that you join us again soon. So have a great day, everyone. Have an awesome summer, Dawn, and we will see you back again soon.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye.